What's up, guys? Artist 1 here, and today, thanks to the great people over at Medallion Media, they have set up an interview. As you can probably tell from the title of this video, they have set up an interview with the WWE Hall of Famer, the 5-time WCW champion, multiple-time champion at elsewhere, TNA, WCW, WWE, you name it. He's done it. He is the current Raw color commentator. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Booker T.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, so first thing I want to talk about here, you have your second book coming out, which is how we got this little meeting here. But your first book, it kind of went in a different direction than most wrestlers' books. Take somebody like a Bret Hart book. It goes from he's young, broke into wrestling, here I am now. Jericho, here I am young, broke into wrestling. Well, he kind of did a two-part, so he kind of goes against the rule. But Edge, here I am, young, wrestling, here I am. You went a different route. You went into your troubled past, and then your first book ends right before you get into wrestling. So my question is, why was that the direction you went into?
Well, I think everybody knows my story, just through, me actually trying to let people know as far as where I come from. I just thought it was really, really important to go in depth and let people really see where, the guy, the man, the 5-time WCW champion come from. A lot of times people can get caught up in seeing the person on television and thinking that's, who that person, only has been for many years. And I just wanted kids to see that perhaps maybe in the same situation that I was in once upon a time, to know that, hey, you can be in a situation and you can still fight your way through it. Look at Booker T, you know what I mean? He was in prison, he lost his parents when he was, a kid, and, he didn't, blame anybody. He just, took steps to move forward, you know what I mean? So I just want to hopefully let kids see, there is light at the end of the tunnel if they just keep walking.
That's good. That's a good message to have. So your second book goes into your rise of wrestling. The second book, which is available now from Medallion Media. Is that really all the book is about? Is just like basically your time in WCW and WWE, or is there something more to it that we should know about?
Well, it's not going to be a dirt sheet book or anything like that. While I'm telling everybody else's stories, I feel like if anybody's, story is, should be told, it should be them telling them. I'm talking about my life, in professional wrestling, what I went through, how I became the man that I did. And it was a lot of bumps in the road, obstacles, in the way I had to figure a way how to get over them, around them, under them. Sometimes you just have to go through them, but just to make it in this business, as an African-American, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but I just want to prove to the world and show the world that it is possible. And I did it, and I did it the hard way.
All right on. Now, since your second book kind of talks about your rise in wrestling and everything, which I've yet to read the second book. I plan on reading it the second I get it. But is there room at the end of the second book to possibly lead to a third book, like kind of go the Mick Foley route and kind of write another autobiography about yourself?
Well, I'm definitely not going to, try to be like anybody else or anything like that. As far as is there, room for a third book? Of course it is. There's still more life, left, with Booker T. Still more stories to be told. The retirement match, my brother and I just had this last week. That's something that I think people are going to want to talk about. As well as, me having my own, wrestling company for the last 10 years, me being, a black promoter, and me being, having my own production company, me having my own radio show, there's still a whole lot layers left, to Booker T that's going to have to be peeled back, and, so definitely there's room for a third book.
Definitely, awesome. And you mentioned the reunion with Stevie Ray, your brother, at the Reality of Wrestling and everything, which I read about, and that was a nice little moment for me just to read it because not to be a kiss ass, but I grew up watching Harlem Heat. That's one of the tag teams I watched when you all were with Sister Sherry and everything. That was the joint back then and everything. Then you transitioned to a single star, and you became television champion, U.S. champion, multiple-time tag team champion, and then you finally ascended the WCW mountain, so to speak. So this next question is just one of these questions that I haven't really heard an answer from for you because I've done my research on you. So during that time when you were, kind of rising the ranks of WCW, was there ever an offer from the WWE to jump ship to them? And if so, what was the deal with that?
Contract time came up. It was always, an extension of the Alex match, actually, if I wanted to come up over to WWE, the door was always open. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I was, one of the guys on their radar. I was one of the guys that was going out and producing. So, but it wasn't a thought for me. I like being in WCW. It was a comfort zone for me being in WCW. We worked in the South a lot. You know what I mean? So the cities were warm. WWE worked in a lot of cold cities. So I wouldn't. Too big of a jump to move anything like that. WCW was treating me very well.
No, well, that's good because during that time, during the Monday Night War, it was always every week. Fans around the world were just like, all right, who's going to show up from WCW this week? And then they'd watch WCW, who's going to show up from WWE? And there were a couple names that never jumped. Booker T being one of them, Sting being another obvious name that never went anywhere. So you're a rare breed and such like that. But the people who did jump eventually, left room for you to ascend up, which kind of leads me to the next question here. We all know about the Russo-Hogan business at that Bash at the Beach where you eventually became the WCW champion. So we all know that business, but the question I've always had and never really heard an answer to it online somewhere like that is, was it a situation where, okay, Hogan's gone, whatever, hey, Book, we need you to go out and work Jarrett? Or did you know about it beforehand, like a couple days beforehand? Like, was that something that just happened or something like that?
I knew I was going to work Jarrett as far as everything else that happened that night. It just kind of played out the way it did. My thing was, it wasn't my business. Was it going to affect me? Maybe, but I never played politics or anything like that. It played out the way it did, and pretty much the rest is history. I became the WCW Heavyweight Champion for the first time. And, six championships later, I'm in the Hall of Fame. But I tell you, it was a topsy-turvy night. What happened with Vince Russo and Hulk Hogan, that's, for them to actually talk about. I'm not sure exactly what was the deal behind it, even still to this day, because I really didn't care. But I tell you, for me, it was a great night. No matter what, I left there. The fans, answered all my questions, and that was, was I deserving of being in that spot as heavyweight champion? Were they going to accept me in that spot as world heavyweight champion? And pretty much all those questions were answered, that night.
Yeah, because I remember the night after Bash at the Beach, I was just shocked because I was like, wait a minute, Booker T's world champion now? Okay, awesome. But I was just really confused. I remember being confused about that because I didn't know what happened the night before. Now that you mentioned 6 championships later in the Hall of Fame, when you came back to the WWE after your stint in TNA, you joined the SmackDown color commentator team. So again, this is something I haven't heard your response on before. Was that something that, like, when they came to you, like, hey, welcome back, but hey, we want you to be a SmackDown color commentator, or was that something you requested, like, hey, I'll come back, but I want to be color commentator?
Well, no, when I first came back, it was just Do Tough Enough. I did Tough Enough, which was, great. Yeah. And then the role expanded from that to doing commentary. I used to play around doing commentary when I was, back in the day. I'm on the roads, overseas tours, just to entertain the guys, entertain myself, laugh. I've always been, fond of, laughing. You got to make yourself happy on these long road trips. So I used to play around with it. I never, in a million years, thinking that I would actually be doing that as, my occupation or my job or anything like that. So it was just something that, they threw me in. They threw me in the fire to see exactly how I was going to respond to it. And I'm sure like they did Jerry Lawler back in the day. They just threw him out there. And next thing he's been there for 20 years, So it's one of those things. It was an experiment that didn't work out too well my first time around. I definitely was not prepared for the job. It's not something that you can go out there and wing for 2 hours, 3 hours. Sometimes pay-per-views and go 3 hours and 20 minutes or so. It's something that you really have to be prepared for. I have so much more respect for journalists, and what they go out there and do in front of that camera for many, many hours out of the day. So it's just been one of those things to where now, I study a whole lot more, prepare a whole lot more, and make sure I do my due diligence as far as knowing what's going on the show.
Okay, and yeah, because in a shocking move to some people, you replaced Jerry Lawler on Raw, and now the Raw announce team is WWE Hall of Famer Booker T, the legendary Michael Cole, and of course JBL. So the next question I have is like we've mentioned, world champion. You've won all the titles, 36 titles in all from all these companies. Is there anything left for Booker T to do?
No, not in wrestling. There's not anything for me left to do in wrestling. There's a whole lot left for me to do, but not inside of the square circle. Mm-hmm. As far as put my boots and tights on or anything like that, I think I've done all of that. I've left that part of my life and career behind me. Yeah. It was great, but life goes in stages. You got your spring, summer, winter, and fall. And right now I'm in that third stage. And I'm having fun. I'm enjoying this stage of my life. Mm-hmm. Most of us, a lot of us actually don't get a chance to get to this side and enjoy the fruits of the labor. And I look back and say, man, that was great. You know what I mean? And be glad that you don't have to go out there and work 300 days a year anymore, opposed to working one day a week. So I'm loving the stage of my career, and I don't think it's anything that I've missed out on. I don't lose any sleep over the wrestling game.
That's good. That's good. Well, that's good to know. Because there's a lot of guys, like I'm going to use Hardcore Holly as an example. I once heard an interview with him that one of the things he said he never got to do was, wrestle The Undertaker. So, I mean, there's always a list of guys that that have just that one thing that just like, oh, I wish I could have done that, and that's good that somebody like yourself doesn't, have that one thing like, oh, haven't done it. Haven't got the rest of these points.
Well, the thing is, I didn't get a chance. Me and Shawn Michaels, we never got a chance to wrestle. I always say he's the one guy, that I wish I had got a chance to wrestle in a one-on-one competition. But I don't lose any sleep over it.
Yeah.
Anything like that. You know what I mean? It's not one of those things that was like, man, I wish I had did that. It was just one of those things, because I got a chance to wrestle pretty much everybody in my generation.
Oh, definitely.
As well as the generation before me, as well as some of the guys in the generation that's coming up now, like the Cody Rhodes. But I don't lose any sleep over it, man. I've done everything that I want to do in the wrestling business that I could ever, imagine or dream.
I think anybody that's watched you through all these years have known that. I mean, like you just said, you got to wrestle people like, Sting. You got to wrestle today like Cody Rhodes, which was like your last quote-unquote run, I guess, as a wrestler would be. So you've actually had, speaking of Cody Rhodes, you've actually had a lot of feuds in the business, of course, because you've been in the business a long time, and probably one that stands out a lot to most people because you had one in WCW and you had one in WWE, and that was the Best of 7 series with Chris Benoit. So the WCW one I think is very classic, and then y'all kind of went for the, I guess, rehash would be in WWE. So a lot of people would say that, like, oh, that was Booker T's best feud. So my question is, do you agree with that, or do you think you had a better feud with somebody else later on or before?
No, I think that was the defining moment in my career as far as, people actually really taking me serious as a singles competitor and got maybe able to move up the ladder to the next step. You know what I mean? So I think definitely that was the matches that brought the best out of me was, with Chris in WCW, of course. In WWE, it was something that was, definitely trying to be recreated, and it was something that I don't think Chris and I both could have went out there and actually pulled off what we did in WCW because we were just two different people at two different times, two different stages of the life, looking to pull out something, that no one has ever done, So I just don't think it would have been the same. It wasn't the same in WWE, but to actually be able to go out there and, try to pull it off, which I got hurt, midway through it, and and they had to finish it for me. It was just something that was not meant to be.
Yeah. So going back to being a color commentator, in this day and age where, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have all this social media that, fans can go on and, essentially voice their complaints about. I mean, recently, we have people complaining about the Divas division. We have people complaining about Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, etc. People do actually complain about the color commentators and, Michael Cole kind of getting the brunt of that. But there are some criticisms towards you. And as you pointed out, you yourself said that, I wasn't prepared, but here I am a year later, and I'm better. Did you ever use the fans' criticism as a way of helping you?
Of course, you know what I mean. Like I say, the fans were brutal on me my first time around. They voiced their opinion, daily. You know what I mean. As far as Keith Booker on commentary, he's killing it. You know what I mean. And, definitely, I listen to him. I have to. You know what I mean. As well as I listen to him now. You know what I mean. And the comments are totally different than what I was getting before. You know what I mean. It's like, man, Book Z is a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean. He totally brings something different to Monday Night Raw, you know what I mean? So I definitely, like I say, I took their advice. More importantly, I study a whole lot more now. I'm just more inquisitive as far as what the guys are doing out there. I'm just more in tune to what happened perhaps 3 months ago, 2 months ago, leading up to the big event, that's upcoming, you know what I mean? So I'll ask the guys questions, backstage just to get an inside perspective on what they would actually say. So take a real quote, you know what I mean? So it's definitely, I listened to Twitter, and they were brutal on me. They killed me. But the thing is, I understood it, you know what I mean? I'm my worst critic. I listened to myself, and I knew how bad I was. I knew how much I sucked, and I knew I had to get better, So it's just one of those things. You don't quit. Just like I tell my kids, you just practice. You just practice until you get better. You know what I mean? That's the only thing you really can do.
Oh yeah, because there is that half there, just like I've read the half. I don't agree with this half, but there is that half there, like, oh, Booker T's the worst ever, which, in my opinion, I've heard worse, but I'm not going to go into that. And there is that other half that is just like, oh, he's a refreshing voice on Monday Night Raw. No disrespect to Jerry Lawler, who we all love. So like you said, you've done it all. We've stated that you've done it all. Now, WWE has their hands in a lot of media. They have the WrestleMania Reading Challenge. They have the Be a Star campaign. They have, of course, the WWE Network for only $9.99. And no, I wasn't paid to say that. And also they have WWE Studios, which many of the WWE superstars can be in a movie. I mean, Hornswoggle was in the Leprechaun reboot. Big Show was in a movie. Randy Orton was in a movie. So I'm leading to, have you or would you have liked to have been in a movie of any kind?
Honestly, it's not my thing. I've been in front of the camera now for just about 25 years, and my place is actually behind the camera. I like producing. I like directing. Those guys make the most money anyway. So being in front of the camera and doing a movie and being in the studio and, I'm working 12 hours a day, it's just not something that's compelling to me to want to actually go out there and do, you know what I mean? But, is it something that I'll do in the future? You never know. But it's not something that I've actually, wanted or asked to do one time. Yeah, it's not something, it's just not for me.
Yeah, because a lot of the wrestlers these days, they'll end up doing a movie. I mean, you have The Miz. He has this franchise with the Marine. Because honestly, the only movie credit I can think of that you're in is, of course, Ready to Rumble. If there's something other than that, then it's unknown to me, and I'm a pretty hardcore fan here.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, movies is just not something that I've gravitated to. I mean, myself, if it was my choice, I'd rather do voiceovers and be a character, and just talk over that character. But actually, me personally, being in the front of a camera, like I say, being in the studio, it's a lot of that's really, really hard work. It's a lot of hours. You got to put in, and it's just not something that I'm interested in right now.
So then, while I'm on that topic, if it's not something you're interested in right now, if I can just go back. So when they did film Ready to Rumble, was that something? Even though I think your camera time is very brief in there. I think you have 2 scenes, to my knowledge, in there where you appear. Was that something you're just contractually obligated to do? Was it something like, hey, Book, you're going to be in this movie, and you're just, yes, sir?
It was a chance to be in a movie with WCW. I mean, everybody that was involved in it, and it was asked to do it. It wasn't a demand or anything like that. But I mean, I was honored to actually go out there and do it. But to be on stage on set 21 days, in a row, in a grimy set, it's no fun. You know what I mean? There's no glory in being on the set. I admire guys like Denzel Washington, who's been doing this for many, many years, and are able to go out there and pull it off. But Denzel get paid a whole lot of money sit and do that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And to actually make your way up to that stage, I give The Rock a whole lot of credit, you know what I mean? Being able to go out there and, persist, going from role to role to role. It's not easy by any means. I mean, it's a passion that you got to have for that job. And me personally, I don't know if I have that passion for it, but I'm not willing to go and look for it. I'm comfortable. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Being on screen don't make me who I am.
Yeah.
Being a star, quote unquote, like other people like to say, I never used that word for myself. Mm-hmm. That's for other people to think, but I'm happy just, living life and, being able to have, my kids,
mm-hmm.
Get whatever they want out of it and the rest is, whatever.
See, that's good because, going back to, earlier, like I said, there are some people that just have that they have that one thing they didn't do. They have that one thing that just kind of itches them, and, you're kind of the opposite of that. You're just like, I've done it, don't want to do it. You're happy with where you are right now. I think if you were one of those guys that never became world champion, I think you'd be okay with that. So that's really awesome. So as we mentioned, you are the WWE Hall of Famer, Booker T. And for some people, that is usually the defining moment of their life, being in a Hall of Fame. I won't just say just WWE Hall of Fame. But to me, I think the crowning moment that a wrestler can have, in my opinion, Hall of Fame is awesome, don't get me wrong, but I think that next moment for them is to have the WWE DVD. So that's my question. Is there possibly, maybe down the road, is there talks of it right now, of possibly a Life of Booker T DVD?
Well, that's your defining moment of what makes the wrestler. That's not my defining moment.
Oh, definitely.
Making it to the Hall of Fame. That's not my defining moment.
Oh.
My defining moment is making it in life.
Hey.
If you go back and read my book, Booker T from Prison of Promise, the wrestling thing. This is it's been my job. That's the only way I look at it, as a job. If they produce a DVD of Booker T, fine, but it's not something that I lose sleep over. Go to sleep saying, "Wow, I wish I had a DVD." That doesn't define me. Like I say, my family, my wife, and my kids, my legacy that I leave behind. The kids' lives that I changed. Through my school and my foundation. That means so much more to me than anything that I've ever done in professional wrestling, honestly. Wrestling hasn't defined me either, the man who I am, and I've become is what defines me. DVD, that kind of stuff. I don't put much weight in that kind of stuff.
Wow, that's a deep answer, sir. I like that answer. I like that a lot. So this Sunday, from what I've heard, is your birthday, correct?
Yep, 50 years old.
53. All right on. So I just want to say, first of all, let's get some more ass kissing out the way here. Thank you very much for giving me this time. I do appreciate it. Happy early birthday to Mr. Booker T, the WWE Hall of Famer. Everybody who is listening to this right now, when it goes live on YouTube, go out, pick up Booker T's second book. It is available now wherever books are sold from Medallion Media Group. And I think that's all the questions I have here for you, Book. I don't want to keep you too long here because I know you're a busy guy. And I appreciate you answering all the questions that I had for you. So thank you once again for joining us. And that's pretty much all I got to say, man.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate you.
All right.
Thanks, man. All right. Well, there you have it. That's the interview with Booker T. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it there. That's why, wow, that was intense for me. Ooh, man, I'm sweating over here. It was so good. It was just intense. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this. So yeah, until next time, I'm out.